As I stared at the wrapped, black-painted, metal door to my crawl space, I breathed deeply to steel my nerves. It'll be fine. Anything you find under there will be more afraid than you are of it. And it's just a kitten. Kittens are cute. That was my attempt at soothing myself. It didn't work. We moved into this house just over 2 years ago, unable to believe the deal we got for the amount of land and living space, and I had never gotten the courage to crawl underneath. I didn't have a reason to. Everything worked, so there was nothing that would necessitate going into its dark underbelly. Recently, our air conditioning had some issues. It's way too hot in Georgia for that. Since our house is more than a few decades old, the ductwork for the system is in our crawl space. The entire AC unit is connected to a hole punched out of the bricks beneath our living room. The end result is that there is a significant gap between the bricks and the ductwork inside our unit. Per our AC technician, there's some pretty large faces down there, much bigger than a rodent. It's probably a raccoon or something, pretty common. The problem is that the unit is a bit older, so it sits on a pedestal which has a nice size gap for these sort of things to get in. I tried to call pest control, but they couldn't make it out for 2 more days. Now, my 11-year-old son tells me he has been hearing sounds coming from his air vent for quite a while. He said he didn't think much about it and thought it was just house noises. After I informed the family of what the technician said, my son said he would listen more closely. Tonight, he swore he heard a kitten meowing. Unfortunately, I have a soft spot for kittens that overtake my fear of dark, cramped spaces under my house. I unlock and remove the door, then shine my flashlight into the pitch black space. Mazes of pipes and insulated ductwork meet my eyes. A split second before the stench of feces and urine hits my nose. How hadn't we smelled it before? I get on my hands and knees, but I can't see very far inside. Flat on my belly, I wriggle beneath a piece of ductwork. It looks like a toilet exploded here. The smell is overwhelming, but at least I can hear the kitten now. Its meow is tiny and scared. We've always wanted a cat, but never found time to get one. "Coming, kitty," I croon. My claustrophobia is setting in. Wires are catching my pens every 5 feet or so. It's slow going. I see something. Eyes. Human eyes. My flashlight lights up something that might be human. 2 little gray skin stretched over bones. I try to scream, but nothing comes out. My foot is tangled. I can't turn around. It's coming. Kids say the darnest things, don't they? You know how it is. The little rascals overhear something they can't quite understand and spin this crazy embellished version of it, complete with a lavish fantasy world to accompany the absurdity. I swear, it's enough to drive you mad. Granted, my sweet little Clarence has what you would call an extremely overactive imagination, to the point where I'm not even sure he sees the world like we do, if it makes sense. It's like, I don't quite know how to explain it, like he sometimes loses himself in his own mind. The puzzling nature of his creations, so overwhelming that he fails to grasp what's real and what isn't. It's not the first time it has happened either, let me assure you. Clarence has quite a history of doing this, you see. I always forgive him for it. Of course I do. There's never any hard feelings. He is but a child. And what kind of parent would I be if I didn't nurture his wonderful creativity? A bad one, wouldn't you say? Mostly, it's innocent, unnoticeable. just a tiny white lie, or rather exaggeration, I should say. Rephrasing something he's overheard, bringing false truth to life, so to speak. In a way, if enough people believe it, would it even be false? Could it, through the sheer number of believers, become true? I'm sure I read something to that effect somewhere. Oh, I do apologize. I tend to get a bit worked up when talking about my Clarence. I suppose we should get back to the matter at hand. What I'm getting at, Miss Nichols, and I'm certain you realize this by now, but just to avoid confusion, you shouldn't always listen to what Clarence tells you. And even if you do, which, honestly, I completely understand, he's such an eloquent boy, so don't feel bad about it. But even if you do, you shouldn't always believe him. It's preposterous, really. Hilarious. Just such an absurd notion. One day, I assure you, we'll all sit back and laugh about it. So, just to be clear, Miss Nichols, when Clarence told you that we kept a little girl locked in a box in our basement, he wasn't telling the truth. And when he told you that she wasn't alone, that we over the last few years have had multiple children locked in boxes, that was also just nonsense. I'm sure you understand this. But just in case you don't, we'll let you sit in your box for a little while. Just a little while. Just until you realize that kids say the darnest things. I got a letter from my estranged brother. Well, I suppose estranged is putting it lightly. We share nothing but disdain for each other. Why? Because he's an asshole, of course. People always said we were so much alike, but I never saw it. Liar, cheat, conman, backstabber. Any of these and more would be an accurate description of Joshua, but I am certainly none of these. Joshua and I are identical twins, though, so I suppose on a purely superficial level we are indeed very much alike. But Joshua is a villain, and I am the everyman. I won't even get into the things that he did to me, simply because it's too painful to recount. Let's just say it included, but was not limited to, mental abuse, public humiliation, and torture. Despite the shit stain my brother has always been, Joshua does have a daughter I like very much. Julie calls once in a while to chat, and it's clear she feels guilt about who her father is. With some trepidation, I opened my brother's letter. I could only imagine the kind of bullshit I was about to see. Hey Jim, Julie may have told you that I'm in poor health. I have many regrets and just want to make things right with you. So I booked a trip for us to take together. Just you and me at the beautiful resort in Brazil. The dynamic duo in action, just like the days before I became who I no longer want to be. Please say yes. Please give me the chance to be your brother again. Joshua. So there it is. The seed my brother hopes that will take root and grow into a new beginning for us. Just hop on that flight and meet him in Brazil and spend a few weeks getting to know him again. Share some beers and shed a few tears. I know what you're thinking. Don't do it, Jim. Screw that asshole. And you would be right to see it that way. However, I know something you don't. I know that Joshua's kidneys are failing. I know that I'll be kidnapped shortly after exiting the airport. I know he plans to take both of my kidneys. I know that he doesn't know that I have late-stage renal cancer. I know that the shady surgeon will find that cancer and transplant the kidneys into Joshua regardless. I know a man with my identical DNA will likely fare no better against the cancer that would have likely earned me a terminal diagnosis. I know I will die on that table. I know his suffering will end and a new kind will begin. I know Joshua will leave a substantial inheritance. I know his loving daughter, Julie, helped him plan all of this. And now you know I convinced her to do it.